Hello, everybody. My name is Elazar Diaz, but Eli for short, because Elazar sometimes is hard to pronounce. I am recently just took up a job becoming a manufacturing engineer at a sheet metal place. I am familiar with sheet metal, also CNC machining, kind of where I started. And I am a SolidWorks certified expert. So I've kind of been using SolidWorks ever since I've been in high school. Let me go in here and start opening our first part. So a lot of times, if you're working for like a sheet metal place and you're kind of doing just custom jobs and stuff, you're gonna get a step file from a customer, but it's gonna be a step file. So you're gonna have to go in there and convert it. But the thing is, if the customer sends it to you and it already has like its own inside radius, it's gonna have its own deduction, and your tooling doesn't allow for that. You're gonna have to go in there and change it yourself. I'm not gonna run part. So we have this part right here. It's kind of just something I drew up earlier. And currently right now it has to evaluate measure. It has an inside radius of like 60 thou. So click on that, it's a little sensitive. 60 thou. And say for some reason our tooling only allows us to make a radius of 30 thou. So we're gonna have to edit these radiuses out and then convert the whole part to sheet metal, because if we just try to convert it right now, it won't allow us to change the inside radius. So I'm just going to kind of go in here right now, click on this and click on this outside radius. Then I'm going to right click and hit this drop down button and hit delete. So when I do that and I hit delete and patch, and I'll show the preview, it's going to go ahead and give us a square corner right here. So I'm kind of going to go through that and do that for all the radiuses. Click on that, click on that, click on that. It's going to be a long process if this part was a lot bigger with a lot more bends. Okay, sweet.
So all these changes you're making is going to be all in one node?
Excuse me, sorry about that.
All these changes you're making, that make different ones? It's going to be one node?
One node.
On the tree? Well, go ahead and do it.
Oh, one feature? Yes. But then I kind of noticed that it kind of split the surface right here. So I can go in there and I can do the same thing just to kind of clean it up a little bit. So I'm just going to do this again with a delete. Wait. And sweet. Okay. Oh, and then these two right here, I forgot. Kind of cleans it up right there. So, okay, so now I'm going to go over to my sheet metal tab right here. That was delete and patch. Yes. So then I'm going to go over to my sheet metal properties tab and then click convert to sheet metal. So I already know that the material is 16 gauge, so that's about 60 thou. So I'm going to go ahead and select this top surface right here. Change my thickness right here to 60 thou. And then now I have control over my inside radius, and I'm going to change that to 30. So after that, you're going to have to go down here, select this face, and then you can try clicking collect all bends. Sometimes it doesn't work. So you're going to have to manually go in there and do it. So I'm going to go in here and collect this bend, collect that bend, come out here, that bend, this bend, and then lastly, these two over here.
I don't need to pick the inside.
The inside?
Yeah, you need to pick the inside with the 30 thou radius.
As in,
on the side.
oh, this over here? Oh, because from the preview right here, it's kind of showing that it's going in, it's going to create the feature over my my step file. So I don't think it, I think it does the same thing whether or not I click on the outside or the inside, but I can delete this one out.
Well, see, I mean, it's 30 thou on the inside, and you can't put 30 on the outside. That's it.
It's sweet. So it's not letting me click on the inside. It's not letting me click on the outside. Sweet. So now when I come in here and I go to my evaluate, I can click on this surface right here, that little line, measure that out and see that I have a 30 thou inside radius. Come over here, kind of confirm that. Get out of the way just for now. And click on this and see that I also have a 30 thou radius. Now with that, I can come in here to my, where is it? Where's the properties? My sheet metal properties in my design tree, hit edit. And then I can come here, I can change the K factor to bend deduction, maybe change that to like a 0.42 if I'm working with steel or something. Change this to a 50 thou inside radius. Kind of just gives me a little bit more control over the part. Let me go back to evaluate and measure. There we go, 50 thou. And then with that, go into my back to my sheet metal and flatten it out to see if it will flatten out. Kind of looks like it is with no issues. And that's pretty much how I would go about grabbing customer step file and converting it to something I can work with. Any questions on that by any chance? Cool. All right, what's next that I have? Okay, so the next thing I have is I have a multi-body part. Oops. Like that. Let me open this right here. Open it from here. Oh, okay, yeah, I did do this on an educational version. So I have this little box that I created using multi-body sheet metal parts. So just to go through my little design tree, started off with the base, created another piece across from it, filled in the box, and then I went ahead and created a bunch of sliding tabs just so I can put them all together. And one thing that
Parts, or they're just hard to see on this?
Oh, sorry about that. I forget. So these are all different features right here. I'll try to keep everything on this side. Sweet. So what I kind of wanted to show with this is that if you see my cut list right here, they're currently just called the cut list item 1, 2, and 3, right? Sometimes you want to give them a name. So when you put them in your drawing, it's a little bit easier to track. So what I like to do is go over to my properties and go over here to my description. I kind of give them names. So right here, I changed it to bottom panel. Here, I changed it to front and back panel. And to here, I called it left and right panel. And you can kind of see that over here as well on my cut list properties. And then I go over to my settings and I select weldments right here. And there's a little checkbox that says rename cut list folders with description properties. So I click on that and that will automatically rename my cut list to the description that I gave it in the properties. And that's really cool because when you create a drawing with this part, let's see. Educational version. Go a little bit up here. So what I'm able to do is put these parts in individually and then create a weldment table and tie them into the description that I gave them. So here's my first part, bottom panel, quantity of 1. And then here's my second piece right here, front and back panel, quantity of 2. And my third piece right here, left and right panel, quantity of 2 as well. And that's really neat because when you send that over to the person that might be nesting parts, they can verify that this flat pattern right here is what I need to put into my nesting.
I see where you got that name, where you open videos on the drawing in the art file, you showed you opened something to rename those.
Oh yeah, let me go back to that. Control tab. Sweet. So you would go over to your cut list right click on it, hit properties. If it doesn't show up, it's because you don't have your automatic updating cut list checked. Sometimes I don't have it. I kind of do that towards the end so it can automatically do it all at the end. Because if you have it checked and you're adding parts constantly and naming things as you're adding parts, it gets kind of hard to juggle all of that. So if it doesn't show up, you just need to click automatically update. So then once you click it from the properties, you can come into, they should all be listed right here. And then there's a bunch of properties that you can change. And you would go over to your description. You would uncheck this box right here because it's currently linked. You unlink it, give it the name that you want it to be given, and then hit OK. And then right after, you would have to go over to your settings, document properties, weldments, and make sure that rename cut list folder with property description is checked. Sweet. So then, oops. Sweet. Let's see. I currently the first page right here. So I currently pulled in the box right now. So if you want to bring in individual parts, like how I shown here, what you would have to do is let me delete this. Let me just delete this table out real quick. Yes. Let me delete all these. So I got like going to this little drawing view right here. And let's say I want to show just my top and bottom panel. So I'll come in here and I'll select, let's just bring out my bottom view. Click out of here, click on the view, and then hit select bodies. And then from here, let me select specifically the thing that I want to show. So I do that, select only the bottom panel, hit OK, and it'll only bring up the bottom panel. So, and then we can do the same let's do it for the right view. Bring that in, hit OK, click on that, select bodies, click on that part, just brings in that part specifically. So say I want to bring in the table, the Weldment table. I go over to the first page. I'm going to select this main part right here. Go over to my annotations, select tables, and hit Weldment cut list. And then there's some like default settings. We don't have to change right now. You can hit OK, and it'll pull up that list right here. So if there's anything else that you want to put into the properties of the cut list, you can, like maybe say the price of the part. You just throw that in there, and then you can have like an equation multiplying the number of parts per cost, things like that. And because I want this on the second page, I'm basically going to go over here to the Weldment. Oh, can you see that? Let me move that over a little bit. I'm just going to grab this right here, and I'm just going to drag it over to the second page. So now that I can select. So now that I have that on my second page. And I'm going to anchor that to the corner of my page right there. And then you can come in here and you can basically give it a balloon to tie it into the table. So there's my item 1. It's item 3. And then you can do the whole cool thing about and add your dimensions in just to see whether or not it'll fit on your part that you're trying to cut with. Any questions on this? Gents? Cool. I know I'm going by this pretty fast. Okay, cool. So got another thing that I wanted to bring up. So I have this part that we just converted, right? Let's throw this in a drawing. Save and insert. Let's save. Uh-oh. I'll throw it into this line. Okay. Sweet. So over here, I'm going to come over and select my flat pattern and dump it on there. And then I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to change the scale to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So sometimes when you're bringing flat patterns into a drawing, it's really easy to come in here and say like the orientation is wrong. Say that instead of these being up, you need them to be down. So it's a lot easy to just go in here and hit flip view to make them down. The thing is that that's kind of bad to do. Reason being, because say you have a multi-body part and you're running a macro, and these macros automatically just take the flat patterns. So if you flip the view here, the view on the drawing isn't flipped. So you have the potential of pulling the wrong side and cutting like maybe the mirrored part. So opposed to flipping it here, you could go into the part, and you're gonna hit this little drop down right here and hit this little drop down again, and you can hit edit feature. So from here, you're able to select this top face and maybe say, you know, I want it bent from this bottom face right here instead. You're gonna hit OK. You're gonna hit Control Q to rebuild if you want. Oh, wrong one. This. And then from here, you'd be able to change it so that if you ran that macro, it'd pull this flat pattern opposed to maybe opposed to this showing as up, but your DXF exporting for something that needs to go down, which can scrap a bunch of parts if you're running, you know, like overnight or something. So it's my little trick on that. You guys have any questions, concerns? Yes.
When you say about the DXF, do you do it from a drawing like this, or do you take the face from a flat pattern and export a DXF apart?
I like taking it from the face. So if I get out of, I just like right clicking anywhere and then hit export to DXF here. I can save that anywhere, yes. Hit sheet metal. I include my bed lines. And pull it up just like that. So this isn't matching what it was matching in the drawing. So we can go ahead and like use these little tools right here to flip it. Maybe I want to flip it over the x-axis. Nope. And then you can also just create a little origin. How does it look like in my drawing? I don't remember, but that's how I would go about exporting. I worked in companies where they just had a macro where they just automatically do it. And then, but what the trouble with that is if you don't have it in the correct orientation on your model, then it'll export incorrectly, or you have the potential of exporting incorrectly.
Do you prefer to see DXFs with bend lines? I've heard in some places that they don't like to have them because it messes with the laser, the speed laser cut.
With the nesting software that we're using, which is Bisoft, it was all in one. So it knew what you can select what to cut, and you can select what the bend lines were. So the software already knew that for this portion, these are the lines being used for laser cutting. For the bend portion, these are the lines being used for bending. I usually, when I create a drawing for a part that's being bent, I include the dimension from bend line to bend line, just that the operator knows how far back their backstop needs to go. Kind of just gives them a little reference that's helpful. Yeah, and then any other questions on that? No?
Is there anything else that you recommend for something like that you see that's really annoying?
Yeah, actually, there's a, let me delete this out. So sometimes I hate seeing the tangent lines of a, let's see, let me pull one up real quick. This one, let me bring that in. Bring the right view. Bring this top view right here. Let's see if they'll do it. Just 1 second. Okay, that's not a good example right there. Let's say you have this like isometric view right here. And you don't want to see these like extra lines. For some reason it might kind of look confusing. Not in this case, I think, but maybe with a part that looks more complex. You can remove the tangent lines. And sometimes it makes it a little bit easier to dimension and for the person operating the machine to better understand where the leader lines are going. So right here, I remove the tangent lines and then gave it a dimension right here. So there's no questioning where that leader line is going or it's connecting to. So this is my first presentation. So sorry if I went too fast, but that's pretty much all I have for today. If anyone else has any more questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.